Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Always good to be with you, Jack.
Thank you so much. So the presidential race, as you know, is very tight right now. How do you think Republicans can win this?
Well, it's all going to come down to swing states. I mean, we know Donald Trump is going to win Texas. We know Donald Trump's going to win Tarrant County. It's all going to come down to the swing states. And what you're looking at, and it's the age-old question they ask in every presidential race: are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Virtually no Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago. The price of everything has skyrocketed. The border is less secure than it has ever been. And President Trump and Republicans need to stay on the message of it's about the economy. Under President Trump, millions of new jobs created prior to the COVID situation, gasoline price down, inflation down, the average American family making more money, taking home more money. Everything has been reversed. For the first time in decades, under Donald Trump, America was actually a net exporter of oil, which produced revenue for people all over the country, especially right here in Texas, which is such a big oil and gas state. The Biden administration undid all of that, undid all of the work done at the border. Our border has never been less secure. We have more fentanyl coming through Tarrant County, through Texas, every day, killing Americans, and that's the message. We have better policies for the economy, and the public agrees with us on that. We have better policies for the border. The public agrees with us on that. Stay on that message. We win the race in November.
Any concerns that former President Trump and Senator Cruz would lose Texas?
None. No, they're going to win. When it comes to Senator Cruz, he's done an outstanding job for Texas while he's been in office. Colin Allred, literally his first 4 years in office, voted 100% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. Texas is not a Nancy Pelosi state. Colin Allred believes a border wall is racist. Colin Allred wants everyone who came into our country illegally to have citizenship. Ted Cruz will stand strong on the border. Ted Cruz will stand strong on law and order. Colin Allred, big proponent of the defund the police movement. No. In Texas and in Tarrant County, we're for law and order. We're for stopping the drug trafficking and the human trafficking that comes across our border. And on November 5th, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are going to win both Tarrant County and Texas.
I wanted to ask you about that because I know when you ran for Tarrant County Judge, you said one of your key goals was to keep Tarrant County red,
Sure.
keep it the largest Republican county in the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, back in 2018, 2020, and 2022, Governor Abbott and Senator Cornyn won their races. In 2018, though, Senator Cruz lost by 4,300 votes to Beto O'Rourke here in Tarrant County, and former President Trump lost to President Biden by 1,800 votes in 2020. So how are you going to change that this time around?
Well, so in 2016, we won every single countywide race on the ballot comfortably. 2018, as you mentioned, Ted Cruz lost by a small number. 2020, President Trump lost by a small number. Fast forward to 2022, and we won every single countywide race on the ballot. It's going back. And the way it's going back are things like what we've done in the county. So we just passed a tax rate for both the county taxes, property taxes, and the hospital district property taxes below no new revenue for the second year in a row. We put in, when I got here in 2023, we had no homestead exemptions for county property taxes or hospital district property taxes. The state of Texas allows counties to have up to a 20% homestead exemption. So of the 6 largest counties in the state, 5 of them had the full 20%, Tarrant County had 0. So we put 10% in last year, put 10% again this year. Last year we provided property tax relief, the largest property tax relief of any governing entity in the whole county. I think we'll probably come out the same this time, and people saw it on their tax bills. In addition to that, and what happened with the proposition that passed, I think it was 92% for the property tax relief, where it increased the homestead exemption and did all those things. People actually saw relief in Tarrant County for the first time in decades, and they're noticing. So we also are going to be strong on law and order. We've increased funding for our patrol officers, for our jailers, now 2 years in a row. We're making a significant investment in a world-class training facility for the Sheriff's Department. And we're going to be a law and order county. And when Republicans, and you see it as the Ron DeSantis model, what has happened in Florida, when Republicans do what they campaign on and they actually govern like it, people respond. So Governor DeSantis, and along with the Florida legislature, pushed conservative policies, stood up to the woke agenda, stood up to the big corporate push to do all kinds of crazy stuff in their state. And he went from, I think, winning by 0.4 of a point, 4 years later, winning by 20 points. Florida is officially no longer a swing state. It is a solid Republican state. And the people that are registering to vote in Florida are outnumbering Democrats by huge numbers. I think you're going to see in the coming years the same exact thing happen in Tarrant County.
And I'm struck by the fact that you didn't use Texas as an example.
Well, we've been Republican for a long time. I mean, the numbers, can move around depending on personalities. We have a lot of personality voters. I'm not a personality voter. I'm a policy voter. And so you have different people running at different times. The Beto O'Rourke sensation that was going on, Hollywood was all in for him. Money was coming in from all over the country. Remember, this was fresh off of Senator Cruz running for president. And he was this hot item. Well, we saw what happened. That was a flash in the pan that dropped off the face of the earth pretty quick. It's different each time. There is not that same buzz around Colin Allred. And Senator Cruz has been able to go in and actually pass a number of bipartisan bills. I think Colin Allred does nothing legislatively. He just votes with Nancy Pelosi every single time, and that's not what Texans want.
Are Republicans energized in Tarrant County?
Oh, very much so.
And how do you connect the dots from what you did here in Tarrant County as far as property tax cuts, et cetera, with having Trump win Tarrant County and Cruz winning Tarrant County, changing it from 2018 and 2020?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts on that. So the campaign against Beto O'Rourke, quite frankly, I think caught Ted Cruz's campaign by surprise. I don't think they realized it was going to be the way it was. And all the money that came in for him, I think he significantly outspent Senator Cruz. You won't see that this time. So that's one thing. Their antenna is up, and they are working it. And he is going all over the state. The campaign is run totally different. He's got fantastic people on it. Their messaging is spot on. So that's a piece. Here in Tarrant County, and it's the same anywhere. Your dollar just simply doesn't go as far. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have put policies in place that have caused inflation to skyrocket. It's undeniable. It's their policies. The border is a train wreck and a disaster, and people in Tarrant County know that. They see that. People in Texas know that. So we're going to be, I feel very confident we're going to win them all here, and I believe we're going to increase our margins this time compared to 2 years from now, and I think you'll see it go even farther 2 years away. It takes a while to see the cycle catch up, but just the policies that we've put in place in the county, the things that cities are doing around the county. So, and I'm not trying to take credit for it, because there are cities that were passing tax rates below no new revenue before we came in and did it. But Tarrant County, obviously a giant taxing entity that has a lot of impact. When we started doing it, other cities started picking it up, adding to their homestead exemptions, going below no new revenue. Now, lots of cities are trying to do that, and lots of cities see, their leaders see it is okay to stand up to the woke agenda. You take South Lake Carroll ISD. So Kamala and Joe are trying to rewrite Title IX, which would literally destroy women's sports. It's unfathomable what they're doing to our young ladies. Well, Carroll ISD, little small school district, says we're not doing it, and they sue the Biden administration. So Judge O'Connor put an injunction in and said, no, you're not going to be able to do this. We're stopping you. And when people stand up and fight for what is right, people follow that. And people say, I want to go there. And that's what's happening in Tarrant County. We've got a lot of people moving into Tarrant County that believe in faith, family, and freedom. And today, more than ever, People are making their choices on where they live based on politics. So we've got people coming from California, and we've got some folks on our side of the aisle that think they're scared of the ones coming from California. The ones coming from California are trying to get away from what's going on there.
Are they Republicans?
Oh, for sure. We're having a movement into my town left and right, and I talk to the real estate agents, and politics is one of the number one things people talk about after the quality of the school district. So I guess you could call it number 2, maybe number 3. People are paying attention, the word is getting out, and I truly believe this isn't political spin. 2022, we want everything countywide for the first time since 16. I think you'll see it again in 24. I think you'll see it again in 26, and I think it's moving the other direction.
And talk to me a little bit about economic development. You have people moving in. Are the jobs moving in with it? And are corporations coming here? Because you got Dallas, and the northern suburbs to compete with.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, and one of the things that I have focused on and want to continue to focus on is Tarrant County, compared to other counties, relies more on the residential tax base than the commercial tax base. So even McLennan County has, I think it's twice the percentage of commercial than what we have. And so we need to fix that. We've got a great region to live in when it comes to jobs, schools, places to raise families, and people are moving in here from all over the country. We have to do a better job in Tarrant County, in our cities in Tarrant County, of attracting more of that high quality development. Now, we've got a lot of good things that have come in the door in the last several years. Schwab, TD Ameritrade, some smaller things, Drink Pack, Siemens. We've got a lot of different things happening, but we need to capture more of it. That needs to be a concerted effort by all the leaders in Tarrant County.
How are you working on that?
We are indeed. My office sends letters regularly to companies. We reach out to companies. We call and say, we understand you're considering moving. Would you come let us take you on a tour here? Can we show you around? That's an absolute focus for us. But doing that, if you show them we have low taxes, you can get stuff done here and built here quickly. Now, the county government doesn't have a lot to do with that, but if, creating public improvement districts and things like that can get developers to come in here and bring in high quality companies. There's 2 or 3 different developments going on right now, one in Mansfield, 2 in Fort Worth, that are big acreage properties that I think you're going to see over the next several years. These things are going to explode, and it's hard to say that a county with 2.2 million people is a secret, but I think the secret is getting out about Tarrant County, just how special a place it is and how different it is from some of our maybe neighboring counties. And we're exploding here, and the property values are going through the roof, which is another reason why we got to address property taxes.
Let me ask you about, there's been an issue, as you know, with deaths in the Tarrant County Jail. Are you satisfied that that is being addressed?
So I will tell you, Tarrant County is fortunate to have Bill Wayburn as our sheriff. He is a good man. His people love him. Are there things that happen in the jail from time to time that are concerning? Well, certainly. We're responsible, the sheriff's office is responsible, the JPS is responsible for the health care of the people that are in there. When you're dealing with the jail population, a lot of times you're dealing with people that are on drugs. You're dealing with people that have had bad eating habits for many years, drug problems, alcohol problems. So they come in the door, and there's a lot of people that have significant health issues. They get a medical workup when they come in, paid for by Tarrant County taxpayers. To give you an example of something that happened here in the last few months, somebody comes in, gets a medical workup, the JPS people, and they're the ones who provide the care in the jail, see there's some issues, they order more tests, see some issues, order more tests, and they diagnose somebody with 4th-stage pancreatic cancer. So this person was accused of a very heinous violent crime, so there's not somebody that you can let out, but that person received round-the-clock care in the confinement wing of JPS Hospital. We provide good health care. Can we do better? Yes, but I trust Sheriff Wayburn, and I know he's looking at every way they can improve policies and procedures at all times. But when you look at deaths in jails, and you can pull stats however you want to pull them to say what you want to say, but when you look at it, Tarrant County is the third largest county in the state of Texas. We're anywhere from 4th or 5th in the number of deaths in our jails. This is not an uncommon problem in jails. It happens. But when you have somebody that dies from cancer in the jail, that it was discovered by the medical people in the jail, they provide care to this person, and they die with good palliative care, that's reported by some in the media as, oh, look, another death in the jail. Well, if somebody can come up with a way to deal with that and keep that person from dying of pancreatic cancer, I think I'm all ears. I don't think there's a way to do it, because they go to the county hospital and get care and get some of the best care you can get in the Metroplex.
And I did want to ask you one other issue, and that was, I understand, I was reading recently about a change in the rules for public speakers at the Commissioner's Court.
Yeah.
And that the Sheriff's Department issued, I guess, trespass warnings to 2 people, a former state lawmaker and a bishop. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I don't know that there were any changes in the policies.
Okay.
So there were policies that have been in place before I got here about what you can and can't say in public comments and different things. So we had a few meetings where it started to get a little bit out of hand. And so as the presiding officer of the court, it's my responsibility to maintain decorum, to maintain order, and to keep everyone that's in that room safe. And so when it starts to get a little violent, or you know, there's people getting a little too angry, getting a little too loud, it's my responsibility to make sure people are safe. The people that are there to speak, the people that work in the county, the people on the court. And so I've started reading out, here's what you follow, here's what you're required to do. And since we started doing that, we've really had no issues of any kind. As far as the criminal trespass warnings, one of those persons that the Sheriff's Department gave a criminal trespass warning appealed their decision. They granted the appeal that was done from the Sheriff's Department. That person was back in Commissioner's Court yesterday. So I think they may have been out a couple of months. The other one, I have no idea what the status of that appeal is, but that particular person, as described to me, slapped the podium after the meeting, ran up, he came up to me, started wagging his finger, raising his voice. Sheriff's Department gave him that, and I don't know what they're going to do with that one.
I did have one other question, sorry, and that was just about elections. There have been some Republicans who want to end the vote centers.
Yeah.
They want to undo that, which allow people to vote in any precinct. Are you among those?
Well, so right now the state law says those vote centers, as you described them, countywide voting is what I would refer to it as, is in early voting, that's the law. So I don't have the ability to say we're not doing that or we are doing that.
Election day, though.
Election day, so we looked at it. We had a number of people calling us saying we want to eliminate this on election day. If you look at the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy, anywhere from 20 to 30% of the vote is going to come in on election day. So there was a state law passed, I believe the last session, I guess it could have been 21, but I think it was 23, that specifically says a county of more than 1.2 million people, which we are, has to provide a voting day location if you don't do countywide voting for every single precinct where you have a voter. So we have precincts where you have one voter, a couple of voters. It would have required us to have, I believe, 694 precincts instead of the 347 that we're going to have, I'm sorry, voting locations, not precincts. And, well, but it is from the precincts. And that would have been an additional cost of $8 million. So that did not seem like a prudent expenditure, and so we didn't do that. Now, the question you asked, am I a proponent of ending countywide voting? Yes, I would be a proponent of ending countywide voting.
Why?
Because it's easier to audit, and it's harder to find out how somebody voted. So you've seen the stories in the news about somebody has somebody's ballot, and I will tell you, they got it, and it really is the somebody's ballot. In fact, we had a high-profile Republican who had endorsed Donald Trump, and then they found his ballot, and he'd actually voted for Ron DeSantis. So you want to preserve the secrecy of people's ballots. And the way it works, if you live in precinct such and such over here, They know by what is posted every day at the end of the day who has voted. This is for the consultants and the people running for office to not keep sending them mail and wasting money. And if that person goes over, let's say 25 miles away from their home precinct, votes in another precinct, and they're the only one from that precinct, it's easy to figure out who it is and they can find their ballot. So I think it helps produce better audits, cleaner audits. It also protects the secrecy of the ballot. Another thing that I think the state legislature ought to do is the way we vote now. I think it's 13 total days. It's just too much. We ought to move the number of days we vote to a lower number. Now, have I come up with it ought to be 7 days or 5 days or 8 days? No. But right now it just goes on too long. It's a strain on the candidates. It's a strain on the public. People are sick of getting mail for a month in a row. It requires exorbitant amounts of money to have places to go vote. You know, some of the locations, based on the rules that you have to follow, they might have 20 voters go through there in an entire time of early voting. I mean, it's just a significant waste of money, resources. It's harder and harder to get people to come do this. So if we had the ability just to say, all right, we're shrinking it down. We're not going to have 347 locations when we know that's going to get 18 people to show up that day. It would actually save taxpayers quite a bit of money, and I don't think you'd see the turnout any different. Somebody else can do the study on how many days do you need, but if you put that on the ballot and said we're going to move from, I think, is it 12 or 13 days of early voting? I guess it's 12 plus voting day. We're going to move from 13 days of voting down to 7. I bet that would pass overwhelmingly.
Let me go back to your point about secrecy and the ballot issues that we experienced. The Secretary of State's office has since told the counties no longer to publish where you vote.
Right.
So that takes care of that problem.
Not entirely. So there are people that have put together algorithms. I think this just happened at Dallas County Commissioner's Court here in the last 2-3 weeks, where a person that ran for state rep showed up to speak, said, I want you to try to address this, and said, I'm sitting here with every one of your ballots. And that person said, I'm not going to go expose them. I'm not going to put them out there. I just want you to know I have them. I know how every one of you voted. And that is a way to address part of it, but there's still more. As people get more sophisticated, as technology and programs people can run get better, as you know, we didn't have a lot of people doing election audits until after 2020. They happened occasionally. Now it's almost a science. And so they understand things that I don't believe were ever anticipated by the people that built the machines. They weren't anticipated by people in elections, and they have sophisticated ways of figuring out who voted for what, when, where. I mean, it's really remarkable what they've been able to come up with. It also raises the question of, well, if citizens can go around and do this and figure it out, how secure are these things? So that's a different topic.
Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare, thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime.